Welcome back to the We Valiant Few Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Slapshot.
Raptor.
Crossfire.
Blackbeard.
And welcome back for Season 3, Episode 2, our 26th episode. And today's episode is on motivation. But before we jump into motivation, Crossfire, you want to hit us up with all of our spicy links?
Yeah, our links. All of our links can be found on our website soon. We are rebuilding our website right now. And right now it's kind of a train wreck. But soon that will be resolved and it'll be better than ever. But you can find our YouTube at youtube.wevaliantfew.com. That still works. Instagram at WeValiantFew. Gilded, which is a chat platform if you haven't heard of it. It's gilded.gg/WVF. Really easy to find. You can chat with us there. You can engage with the community that we're growing. We have a calendar there. You can see when all the podcasts are coming up as well as topics for that. And if you have any suggestions for shows or questions that you want to ask us, etc., that can all be done through our Gilded. And again, all of those links will be on our website at WeValiantFew.com whenever that is fixed. Next couple of weeks or so, we'll figure that out. And this is the first real episode of Season 3. The last episode last week was one of our Real Talk segments, which we'll be doing the second week of every month. And that will be just a off-the-cuff, let's just talk about whatever. This is the first real episode of Season 3. So,
I'm excited.
And a good one at that, with talking about motivation.
it's going to be a good one, I think. This is going to be a different type of episode than we normally do.
I think this is something we all sort of strive for. Like, we all really push this.
Yeah, that's true. It's not so much about what we do, though. This is for people listening that may not feel... They kind of feel like they're hopeless right now, especially with the way everything is. Because you can't deny that stuff is going down the drains, and you look at it and it's like, oh man, what do I do? What do I do? You know, my ideology, frankly, is just a normal ideology. Like, you're just a normal person, and you sit there and see the things that you have grown up with, or, you know, that you find normal, like just, you know, the normal family, this just traditional family, you know, that a man and a woman, like standard things you've grown up with, are being attacked and just destroyed in front of you. Like entire cities don't believe in this stuff.
This whole ideology is basically being ostracized and pushed to the side and made to seem like people that believe stuff like this are less of a person.
Yeah, they're going to the point of even dehumanizing people over this type of
Absolutely.
stuff. So that is definitely not inspiring for people to see that, and it
scares people.
It is scary. I mean, anybody who isn't afraid of that in some sense, I think, is misguided. Because I'll first say I like that stuff does scare me. Not so much like that it's gonna come after me, but I'm afraid of what the repercussions of that are. Because, you know, society's deteriorating and whatnot because of that. I mean, that's what I'm afraid of.
Last week we talked, or for a short period of time, I talked about the Armenian genocide and how they first start pinpointing groups of people, the same way that like Hitler did with the Jews and stuff like that. So there's always a scapegoat for people's problems, and now people of constitutionalists or right thinking are being attacked.
Anything right of left is being attacked. Even like centrists and stuff are now under attack.
Yeah.
And wrapping all that together, that's what this episode is going to be. It's going to be... We're going to look at some of the stuff that, like, the Founding Fathers went through, how we can draw parallels to the hardships that they were going through. Even though, again, it's different, but you can see that they were put in some pretty, terrible situations. And not only did they push through it, they created what I still think is the greatest country in the world as a result of that. Because, you know, if they weren't in such a terrible situation, then they probably wouldn't have done a lot of stuff that they did, because that inspired them to do better.
And they
takes a lot of bravery.
A bunch of stuff. Yeah.
It is not only brave, but you have to basically be willing to throw everything away just to know that you are on the right side of history. And that's not easy to do that, you know? It's a complicated question.
And even so, more so like, even in your absence, like say you get old and die or whatever, or you die early for whatever cause, it's not just about like, oh, what am I dealing with right now, but Like, what are the people that come after me? What is their life going to be like if I don't stand up now today and do something about it?
What happened?
Let's
to
say,
your
and that's
predecessors?
the same thing with the founders did, is they risked their lives and their fortunes, their reputations, to ensure that the people of the United States become and remain free.
They had hopes of a higher purpose
Yeah.
to their lives, which is on a different level that I think a lot of people, including us, frankly, don't really get per se. Because I
Yeah.
mean, that's a different level altogether.
And also, society has kind of made us and people before us become kind of complacent in that kind of thinking.
Absolutely have, yeah.
Like, if you say stuff like this to just a regular person, they get a little defensive, and they're just like, "Oh, I still have to go to work and this and that and whatever." But at some point, you just you have to decide, like, is it worth continuing on with the status quo and allowing them to continue to chip away at our rights, or do we go take a second and look back at what the founders did and what other people in this current situation or similar situations have done, and then kind of not necessarily draw a line in the sand, but like see what it took for other people?
Yeah, you could draw inspiration from that. I mean, again, of course, situations are wildly different, but a lot of that is what you said. Just what you said is complacency, in the sense of, like, back then people really had to fight to survive. We don't have to really do that anymore these days, because, like, everything you want is at your fingertips. Pretty much, like, whatever you want to order, you can just buy it on Amazon, and it's there in 2 days. Food is very, very readily available.
Yeah.
You have the internet, so there's people that literally their entire life they don't even have to leave their house.
No, because they can learn and do literally whatever they want.
They can learn, they can work, they can order food right from the internet, have it delivered to their house. So, like, it not only complacency, but it's laziness, you know. And a lot of that real tough, like, you know, having
Suffering
is a good, yeah, and not like the not in a like a painful
cruel
way,
but like the hardship in life.
Yeah, because that you gain value out of that. And we're not saying go out and force yourself into hardship. That's not it.
No, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, depends.
Controlled hardship.
Yes,
Like our
I
camping
was
trip.
just gonna say,
What's-
you have to have a controlled fucking scenario where you're not,
Or
putting
just
yourself
doing
out
something
where you
hard.
can't recover from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else. It's good moderation. You have to something like that, like a roughing it camping trip or something for a week, is because it changes the way you deal things, and even like doing that, you think differently about stuff. It's like, oh well, you know, got to plan this out or got to do this, yada yada yada, versus like sit on your couch. It's like, oh, well, I just go get
Go to work, come home, eat a Lunchable, whatever.
yeah,
Watch sports ball.
go get water from the faucet. You know, like
Yeah.
that's a lot different. But that was everybody's lives back then, and it made them tougher as individuals. So this episode here, I think we'll just skip through the current events. I mean, unless you guys have anything major you want to talk about.
I wasn't sure if you guys actually had any, but I did find one article that I wanted to bring up one point of it. It was an article from CBS, and the headline of it was just that we're on pace to set a record amount of gun sales in the year of 2021.
Good.
And as of right now, from January to this point, and by this point I mean yesterday, we have sold 31% more firearms than we did last year at this point in time.
Oh boy.
To date,
That's
in
awesome.
2021, we have done 16 million background checks. And the amount of concealed carry permits that have been registered is at an all-time high of
Good.
like 200+%.
Good.
This makes me happy.
This does put a smile on my face.
So all those quiet, middle-of-the-road, political viewed American folk, they're
May
probably
or may not be carrying and
What did they do?
that guy that
getting
may
more
have
interested in
secretly
this kind of
voted for
stuff.
Trump and is just kind of like, you know, hiding in his
Closet
house.
Trump supporter.
A closet Trump supporter. He's now concealed carrying because he didn't think to do that before.
Are people
So good on you,
possibly-
America.
Are people possibly waking up
Yikes! You stole your segue.
Damn, Daniel.
I mean, I also had another thing, and something that's quite interesting. So, I mean, the primaries for most states happened for local stuff. At least for us, local stuff happened much recently, and I had a wonderful idea.
Did you do what I think you're gonna
Yes.
say?
You might have.
Oh wait, did you
let's
not?
hear
Did
it.
you not hear about this?
Uh,
Oh goody.
so this is a test too, because
I
I haven't.
may be already picking up what you're trying to put.
This
down.
Let him go. Let's
this
hear
is
it.
this is
Let's
kind
hear
of a
it.
test because I wanted to see what exactly it took to get elected. So there is a constable position open in my township. So I got a bunch of the people around here in our township, and I talked to them, and they decided to vote for me. There were 23 total write-ins for the constable of the township that I live in. I know for a fact that 12 of those votes were for me. So I don't know if I haven't been contacted yet. For reference, the primaries happened 2 days ago.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And I haven't heard anything back, but I'm interested to see if that will if I'll get that position, because I don't think there was another write-in campaign that got 12 people. That would
be every other vote.
Every other vote would have to have been for another
Actually, wait.
person.
12 and 20. It would literally be 11.
Yeah.
So if every other vote was for somebody else, the same person, it would be one less than you.
So I mean, I should be the constable of my township,
Well,
or at
this
least I want the
is,
primary.
it'll
The
put you on the
primary.
ballot.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
if I'm on the ballot for it, then that'll be great,
It'll be
because I'll be the only one on the ballot.
It'll be easy. It'll be easy from that point. So, needless to say,
I'm very happy for you.
Valiant's actually getting political now.
I
Oh,
mean,
no.
constable is not the most political thing ever, but
It is still.
Would you like to break
I'm
down
s-
the position for
I
listeners?
quite on it. It's from my understanding is like you serve warrants and stuff like that.
Were you about to say you quite honestly don't really know?
I don't know that well.
Well, see, the,
Oh
see,
no.
They give you a class.
see,
That's
the-
good.
The issue is that based on where you're at, the responsibilities of that position change. It depends on, what other structure that particular like township, for instance, has in place.
Right.
So that the constable position's authority changes. Sometimes it could be a lot. Sometimes it could be little.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me 100% on this, but my stepdad, he was a constable for a period of time, and I don't think they have jurisdiction.
It depends.
Okay, well, from what he had told me, he didn't have a jurisdiction himself. So maybe that might be different from the county, or what have you not. But from what he had told me, that he didn't have a jurisdiction.
Regardless, it's an interesting experience, and I'm looking I'd like to put it on my resume, and then if I actually get this and something like that, then maybe later on I can apply for other positions. And having previously been elected into another position, then that might
adds
help
to
me
your
out.
repertoire.
Yeah.
I'm still considering the mayoral run.
No, you should.
I should
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
We will 100% back you.
Yeah.
Just wear around podcast gear all the time. Be like, yeah. Tune into the after hours. Anyways,
Ooh.
oh hey, hey.
Spicy.
But yeah, I mean, I guess we are doing some current events. I'll throw two quick things in here. I just got word from a friend of mine that lives in Israel, literally 5 minutes ago. I just glanced down at my phone and saw it, that they said the ceasefire is in effect.
That's good.
So I don't even know if anybody's reporting on that yet or not, or I don't know how reliable that is, but he lives near Jerusalem. So that's actually breaking news. That's
Yeah, it
fire.
is.
That is breaking news.
That is
Wow,
fire.
are we now like an official news source?
Oh great. Let's think about let's
too
follow-
bad we're not live right now.
Oh,
I
rip.
know.
Ah.
Yeah. For those tuning in on YouTube, we were gonna do live, but the network right now is kind of
Not good.
tanking it real hard. So this is yeah. But the other thing I wanted to add real quick, did you see the January 6th commission passed the House? 35 Republicans sided with the Democrats to create a post there's the 9/11 commission that investigated the 9/11 stuff.
Oh my god, this.
They've made one for January 6th because it is the worst thing that could have ever happened ever in the United States. I'm being facetious.
The whole thing was a meme.
But they just keep going.
And I hate listening to the news about this kind of stuff because it's always like the
dirty
they
Republicans.
storm the cat like they
Insurrection, deadly insurrection.
insurrectionist. Yeah,
That's what they said. They're like, it's the deadly insurrection. It's like, BLM riots killed 10 times more people.
We're just gonna ignore that, though. I guess.
I guess, yeah.
absolutely.
No, that's peaceful protesting. Peaceful protesting
Mostly
with dead
peaceful
with dead
protests.
bodies.
They love their words.
Yeah, it's fucking word games.
Well, I mean, if everybody else is going on like with their their sort of own big news, I guess I'll just let mine right out of the bag for everybody. I mean, I accepted a new position in as a corrections officer
Ooh,
at the state prison.
Oh, great.
spicy.
So we have a potentially what seems really likely is a constable and a corrections officer. Oh, great. So Slapshot, you can't pull anything.
I mean, my car got hit by a. So,
Oh my God, those levels just went off the
Some of you
radar.
may or may not remember, I work for a pretty global shipping company, and one of the delivery trucks decided to hit and run my car in the parking lot at work. So there's
high
that.
speed.
High
So
speed.
now, Slapshot's an investigator.
Yeah, private investigator. Yeah,
For
so,
himself.
Magnum
am
PI.
I allowed to talk about this, or is this considered classified?
I don't know.
I don't know. Well,
If you think it's classified, then you probably shouldn't.
I don't think it's classified. I mean, I can talk about my car getting hit, right?
Probably.
Spill it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, I guess. I mean, it's up to you what
So,
you want to
like,
share.
Yeah, since I'm on some work restrictions due to surgery, which is really limiting me at work. So
Soft.
in between leading my area at work, since I can't lift anything, it is not funny. It's not funny.
It's hilarious, actually.
Go get some cartilage removed from your wrist and have a cyst cut out. Let me know how it feels.
Don't
It
get a
sucks.
cyst.
I had a chainsaw go through my leg.
Oh my God.
I do remember.
So what
All
are you
right.
telling me?
That's pretty metal.
Didn't you use Gorilla Glue to?
It was super glue
Oh
and
my
blood
goodness.
clot.
It's also high speed.
That's
Okay, regardless, I don't have anything better to do at work, so besides leading my area and making sure the job is getting done efficiently and effectively, what are you doing over there? Radio check? Good? Okay, all right.
Copy.
Don't say that word. I know which type of van hit me in the parking lot because they have a very small glimpse of it on the security cameras. The only problem is that it's too far away to make any kind of figure out any kind of like contractor marking on it. So the only downside is that there's only like 50 types of that van in our facility. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint who it is. So Detective Slapshot's on the case. I'm
Big sad.
Do what I told you.
Insurance has told me there's not a whole lot they can do about it. I'm just like, well, guess what? I'm going to figure out which truck it is, and I will let you know.
Time to get a Japanese rice cooker and friggin'
I will not trade in my car. Dude. That
Boom
thing
your
gets
way.
a lot of gas mileage.
Get an
Oh,
R-
wow, gas mileage. I remember when I was 50.
Get an RX-8
Well,
and
Raptor,
make it sound like an airplane.
My old lady's looking at a Subaru.
Subiwoo?
Yeah,
A Snowbaroo?
Yeah, I told her to get a WRX STI.
Oh no, that's too expensive.
No, God.
I told her to do it anyway so I can drive it.
What's she going to do, lease it?
I'd like to pay for this.
bad.
I'd like
She's
to.
going to lease it.
Don't
isn't
lease
she?
things.
I'd like to pay.
No.
I'd like to pay for this car in full, in
Okay.
pennies.
Can I pay for this car in Dogecoin?
Oh, you sure bet you can. Except for Dogecoin crashed the other day.
Yeah, so did Bitcoin.
did
So did
everything.
everything.
All the cryptos did.
Bitcoin stopped. Bitcoin bottomed out at exactly 30 grand.
That's interesting.
I think everybody had auto buy on for 30 grand, and as soon as it hit that, everybody's like, market flood, because it was like boink and went right back up.
I should have bought some.
Yeah, portfolio's gone. Any case,
Yeah,
I think that's
moving
about I think it's about it for current events and personal stories
And memes.
and memes. I should have bought $300 worth of Dogecoin back in 2011. In any case, I'd say the first point to start at would be looking at some of the more highlightable events that the founders went through. In going just in, I just threw this together in chronological order.
And I think
Yeah.
before we go through these things, which all happen after the French and Indian War, I think we should talk about a little bit about what happened or why some of this stuff was even implemented in the first place. And specifically, we were talking about like all the taxation acts that happened post French and Indian War. So after the French and Indian War, obviously the British won against the French. And because of that, Britain was left in a huge pile of debt. And one of their ways of getting this debt back, and especially because the king at the time basically hated the colonies, they started implementing these taxes. And later on, we can probably get more into like the specifics of the war, but that is basically where this stuff started coming
The
from.
meat and potatoes.
Want to flee a tyrannical government? Just create a tyrannical government. But yeah, that's a lot of where it based at was just they had to figure out a way to subsidize their debt because war is expensive.
Yes, it is. Especially because the French and Indian War was just a part of the 100-Year War that was fought between the British and the French for 100 years.
Especially with the French and Indian War is a remote.
Yeah,
So-
it was a remote conflict, and at the time, obviously, 1700s, they don't have any kind of telecommunications at all. So
And logistics and
and
all that just
logistics
adds
is all
up. Yep.
just over ships that take a couple months to get over. So
We'll give you reinforcements in 2 months. Comes back like
Yeah.
everybody's gone, all dead.
Well, you got to think about all the
dead.
the supplies and everything that the time it took to get all that.
It was all finite, yeah, but all that adds up, and then what you're left with is, massive debt, and they're like, "Oh, well, we can take our savings and pass them on to you." Those aren't, except that they're not savings. Pass our debts on to the customer.
And obviously,
Sounds like us
they
right
weren't
now.
going to do it
Oh,
as
boy.
much to the people in Britain because obviously the people in Britain are like
They're right there, and they
Yeah.
can get They get angry.
they get angry.
and they can walk there.
You can walk there.
Hey, back then that was a big threat, or at least ride horses. And like you said, the king kind of had a hard on for the colonies. So
Get it on with my buggy.
I wouldn't do that. But what ends up, oh my god, it ends up like you said, having this massive tax burden pushed against the colonies, and that's where a lot of these things that we're going to be going over originated from. So people obviously got tired of wanting to pay taxes.
Well, pay taxes specifically under the idea of taxation without representation, because at the time the colonies had no representatives representing them, and the British government was taxing them anyways, and they were like, hey, can we have some representation? And they were like,
Yeah, and everything had to be used.
no.
No.
Everything was used from Britain.
So the first area where, I mean, they taxed a lot of stuff, but one of the first larger acts of this taxation was the Stamp Act, where they just dumped or they tried to collect egregious amounts of money through stamps. I mean, it kind of happens like that today. Yikes!
I mean, we don't even.
Only to
Who
firearms
uses
is that-
stamps?
I use stamps all the time, actually.
The last time I used I used a stamp last week, but prior to that,
Shot yourself in the foot with that one.
prior to that, I hadn't
can
used a
help you with
stamp
that.
since basic training.
I do with business stuff. We use stamps quite a bit.
Do a lot of mailing.
Yeah, there's
Guess email hasn't caught up yet.
some you can't
God.
sometimes you can't email a check if you need to actually send a physical check.
Well, can't you do? I mean, a lot of
Sometimes there's digital stuff, yes, but like sometimes like person to person stuff,
yeah.
doing it with older people that aren't technologically
Advanced.
Yeah. So that's where we get it a lot. Or bills. The one guy still does all the bills by hand. I know e-billing exists. That's how I do all my stuff. But some departments aren't like that.
Interesting.
Don't be judged.
Stamps.
It works. But yeah, the stamps are a big thing, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to highlight this. Is the colonists were like, well, we ain't having any of that. So a lot of them just outright refused to pay for the stamps or even use them. Civil
disobedience. Like, okay, you're gonna tax us, then I'm just not gonna buy them. I'm not gonna use them.
We'll make our own stamps.
We'll make our own stamps.
Are you making your own tax stamp?
That's spicy.
That is
Future episode.
Oh no!
I don't know about that, Chief.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Yeah, but again, that was a really good act of civil disobedience, which is what they needed to do on that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is peaceful protesting.
No, yeah, it is peaceful. They weren't fighting anyone yet.
Yeah, and then after that, I'd say the next one to highlight would be like the Townshend Acts, which I pulled up a thing here, which were a bunch of acts that were passed, that basically just taxed all kinds of things. Let's see here.
The Tea Act,
or
was it?
Was it paper?
The Boston Tea Party?
No, we're getting to that.
Is that what you meant?
We're getting to that. So there's the New York Restraining Act 1776, the Revenue Act of 1776, Indemnity Act of
1767.
Sorry, 1767. Excuse me. All these are 1767.
Except the last one.
Figure it out.
Anyways, so I'll just say the New York Restraining Act, the Revenue Act, the Indemnity Act, the Commissioners of Customs Act, and the Vice Admiralty Court Act, which basically it highlights, it says the purpose of these acts were to raise revenue in the colonies, to pay the salaries of governors and judges, so that they would remain loyal to Great Britain. So they basically took the taxpayer money and bribed people with it.
Nice.
Sounds like mafia.
Great, more effective means of enforcing compliance with trade regulations. So customs, that was the Customs Act. A lot of that. Punished the province of New York for failing to comply with the Quartering Act, which is led to what's it, the Third Amendment?
Third Amendment, yeah.
Yeah. So
the quartering of soldiers.
Yeah, that's
and New York refused to quarter British soldiers during the French and Indian War.
So this is part of what actually led to the development of the amendment there.
Yep.
And then the last main point was it was to establish the precedent that the British Parliament had the right to tax the colonies, which again was the whole point of what caused them to become angry, to be like, no, we're our own country now.
How about no?
We angry.
We are angry. Yeah, but
and all of these were met with resistance from the colonies.
Oh, they were met with pretty fierce resistance,
which led to
#3%.
Yeah, that we're getting to that part yet. So that led to the Boston Massacre. Yeah.
Which was basically, there were protests going on because of the Townshend Act in Boston. I think they were, what were they outside of? They were outside of a
fire station.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, a fire
sure
station.
It was, yeah.
And
because they rang the bell.
Yeah, and there were British regulars standing on the outside while the colonists were protesting in the streets, and they were throwing rocks and stuff like that at the British regulars. Eventually, a shot was fired, and as far as my understanding of it is that we don't really know who fired the shot, if it was the British or if it was us, but it resulted in a
massacre.
Yeah, a massacre of the protesters. The British shot on the unarmed / not armed with firearms.
The lightly armed.
Yeah. Protesters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on King Street in Boston. A lot of stuff with the American Revolution happened in Boston. It's seriously a hot zone. Like Boston, Lexington, Concord, that. That's pretty much the epicenter of all of it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, even I don't know. We'll get to that later.
You think that would probably be one of the largest, colonies, cities
At the time,
at
yeah.
the time,
Yeah,
just
New
like,
York,
technologically
Boston,
booming,
Massachusetts, yeah.
like that was just the place. To
The
be.
Upper East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, after that, the next thing to highlight would be the Boston Tea Party, which was what you were saying earlier, Slapshot, where basically, there's like, oh boy, we don't like this tea, so they.
Yeah, this becomes more of an act of civil disobedience.
Yes, it definitely was.
This is more.
So again,
Tea.
the
Tea Act was put into place, which taxed British tea, from coming into the colonies, and basically the colonists were not having it, as they have not had anything else with the British were throwing their way.
This was they had a little bit of a plan to this though. Did they disguise themselves as American Indians to get into?
Yeah, they wore disguises to get, and they got on the ships, and then they proceeded to dump tea into the Boston Harbor.
Yeah, I also heard, again, I don't know how true this is, but I heard that the only thing destroyed in the actual like the whole event was the tea and one lock that was used to hold the tea, and I heard that they came back the next day and replaced the lock. So
I saw that too.
I don't know how true that is,
Yeah.
but that sounds like something that would actually happen.
If that is so, that's very honorable.
Screw your tea, but here's your lock.
We had to
We're about sending a message. This is the message. Once the message has been sent, we will cease sending the message. Unlike today, where we just break it.
We're the polite party.
We just bend and bend.
We just break people's stuff.
BLM comes out 1 month later. Okay, we get it now. But
They're
it's still going on, and it's still violent.
Yeah, and if you aren't aware,
Fast forward
it
to
is still
1 year
going.
later.
Yeah.
But social distancing. But yeah,
Oh yeah, they didn't have to social distance during those riots.
yeah, we
Or
should.
protests.
They should have socialist distance in those. Yeah,
Did you say socialist distance?
I may have.
That was pretty sneaky.
You bet it was. But yeah, next thing we're getting into then would be the Intolerable Acts, which, as the name implies, were pretty intolerable.
And this stuff happened after the Boston Tea Party, so obviously the British are at this point
Sick of our
pissed
shit.
off that the rowdy colony peasants are destroying our fine British tea and
It
not
wasn't
paying
even
their
from Britain, was it?
East India.
yeah.
The East
Well,
India Trading Company, which was British.
yes,
Oh,
it,
right,
it was
right.
the
My
largest
mistake.
to this day, still the largest company.
Yeah.
Like they had military. The East India Trading Company had its own military. It had its own everything. Fleet. Yeah.
Like, not just-
Whenever you watch Pirates of the Caribbean,
Yeah.
all of those British soldiers and stuff,
Are
all those
East
ships,
India.
they're East India Trading Company.
Yeah, that's like, but then that's just like a little speck of it. Like that was just parts of the
just in the Caribbean.
It was just the Caribbean.
Yeah.
They were all over the whole world.
The British love their tea.
Well, it wasn't just tea.
Yeah, they
but
were
yeah.
in everything.
This tea,
was like
spices,
Hand in everything.
Yeah.
currency, all that, and other wide homageous things.
The more you know.
Yeah, but so the Intolerable Acts were basically put out there specifically as a response to the Boston Tea Party, because I mean this was about 4 months after the Boston Tea Party, which was conveniently the time it takes for a message to go to England to come back. So
Coincidentally.
They must have passed
Coincidentally-
it that day, or the day that they heard.
I mean, about a month in between there, so he goes back and was like, "Oh boy,"
Oh,
because
the colonists dumped some tea in our harbor.
What
yeah.
will we ever do?
so this says right here, it says that these specifically were put out by the British Parliament and in a hope that they would make an example of what Massachusetts did, and they wanted to try to reverse that trend of colonial resistance by creating the Sugar Act.
More tyranny.
More tyranny, yeah. The Quebec Act, which actually changed the size of Quebec and expanded that into the colonial territories, notably like Ohio, and a couple other states that were, more westward. And then it also let's see here. Read through this. Other very arbitrative things that effectively were all put out to violate the rights of Massachusetts because of the Boston Tea Party. Like, we need to make an example of this. Meanwhile, it's like if they got pissed about tyranny, let's fill it with more tyranny.
And all this time, the higher ups in like the British colonies, like the founding fathers and stuff, are sending messages to the British saying, "Hey, stop doing this. We just want representation. Like, we're being taxed and basically destroyed because we're not being represented for this kind of stuff." And that's what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple ask. I mean, honestly, and after the Intolerable Acts, shortly after, it led to war.
Well, it led to the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah,
Which was basically, if you read the Declaration of Independence, and did we plan on reading that on?
so that's what I was gonna get to. We'll be doing on June 3rd will be the live session of that. We'll be doing an episode where we're specifically diving into the American Revolution.
Okay.
And we'll do a live reading of the Declaration of Independence and see everything they say, because they outline it pretty clearly. Like, hey, this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Popcorn, reading.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
They go
we're
down
children.
deep, like individual. If you read the whole thing individually into specific grievances that they're like, hey, we asked for this, nothing was done. We asked for this, nothing was done. We asked for this, and for all of these reasons, we have decided that our partnership with the British and the colonies is no longer beneficial.
This is your notice of divorce.
Basically, we're getting a divorce.
Here's your papers.
Here's your serving your papers. But I think getting from this, we can compare a couple things lightly. And again, we'll go way more in depth with all this when we do our deep dive on the American Revolution. That's probably going to be a bit of a longer episode, but I think that'll be a good one. The Boston Tea Party, where it was all about... The whole reason that happened is because they opposed the egregious taxes and monopolies. We can draw a parallel from that today because, all the taxes are going up and they keep going up.
Especially and now the government tons of monopolies.
There is tons of monopolies.
Especially social monopolies whenever we're talking about like social media and these huge tech companies.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to draw the parallel with because, I mean, we are completely crushed by tech monopolies.
Yeah, and kind of at the mercy of them.
Well, you're definitely at the mercy of them. I mean, look, we had to change our entire platform over for where people could get a hold of us because it's like, oh, hey, look, Microsoft's going to buy that too.
Yeah, because the fear of this massive tech corporation is going to now buy an already, I would say, anti-free speech platform and probably make it even worse because that's what these big tech companies do. You look at Facebook, you look at Twitter, you look at, Microsoft. They're all the same. They all have the same goals.
Yeah, they just choose your poison. They're all gonna kill you the same.
I'm banned for a month from Facebook again.
I am banned for eternity.
Me too. I'm still banned. I checked the other day.
And
I'm banned. I got around it.
Yeah, I know you did, but
How'd you do that?
For me to know and you to find out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have a marketplace account. That's about it though. But I had that before I got banned. It's literally just marketplace. But anyways,
regardless, back to like the whole monopoly thing though. To jump in on that, so what about let's talk about gas prices then? Would you consider that a monopoly?
No, not necessarily because we get our gas from a whole bunch of places.
Yeah. See that one's kind of tricky because there's. I mean,
and we get a lot of our gas from the outside, or at least nowadays. Before we were getting it from. With Trump, we were getting it. My understanding is we were getting it from internal.
We were energy independent, yeah. But now it's the new administration and is OPEC friendly.
Yeah, so OPEC, which is the giant Middle Eastern oil company, it's like a consolidation of I think 4 different countries, and they basically sell oil to the world. And if you notice a little bit back, a few months ago, whenever Russia and OPEC were going at it for prices, that's whenever gas prices went like super low.
Yeah, because oil literally was what was it, negative $35
a barrel. They were giving you money to take oil.
That's something I've never seen anything like that in my life. Yeah. We'll never see that again.
No.
But yeah, that was all during that if you paid any attention.
But now that, especially since especially since the hacking of the one of
The Colonial Pipeline.
Colonial Pipeline, gas prices have gone up a lot of places.
And they haven't came back down.
They're not going to come back down, I don't think.
Most likely not.
Because they're like, oh boy, people didn't mind paying this, which
Well,
everybody
and
did.
the funny thing is they created the people themselves and like this whole like panic buying like craziness. Like you see it with toilet paper. They create they create the shortage.
They just overwhelm the supply chain.
Yeah.
There's no shortage until people go buy the same thing, like you said, panic buy, because no system can regulate that. It's kind of like it would be like everybody in a city trying to turn their faucet on at the same time to get water. It would overwhelm the water system, and nobody would have any water pressure.
Yeah.
It's the same way with supply chain, except it's not instant. Especially that stuff you got to ship.
Yeah.
There's
And I mean,
and whatnot. Yeah,
you go to the gas station, you fill up and get gas every time you go, but like, do you ever really think where that gas comes from? I mean, you might see the truck every once in a while. Do you know what day the truck comes? Have you ever noticed whenever you're filling up gas and it might fill up a bit slower than it would fill up on other days or different? I mean, all the gas is different.
And do people realize the shelf life of fuel?
That too.
In particular,
Why are they putting
gasoline.
it in plastic bags?
Oh no.
I saw that. Oh, God.
Like,
At least they
I've
didn't put it in
seen
styrofoam
people-
coolers.
like
Oh, no.
I've seen people literally filling up like high volume like Conex boxes, like sort of things like for farming and everything.
Oh
like they're
God.
full of unleaded gasoline. I'm like, there's no way that's gonna even last.
No. And you have
Like,
to.
what
You
is-
can
what is
throw.
the shelf life of gas?
It's not very long. I can't tell you like
It's kind of like
exactly what it is, but it's not very long.
it's like a year unless you put
Stable.
stabilizer.
but like
in it.
it may not even be that, because if you don't have a completely sealed container,
Yeah, that too.
And
Like,
it depends
and
on what
right
what's in,
temperature.
and what and what the
container.
container's made out of,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're
and
gonna get any bit of moisture, like it's over.
Yeah.
and where the gas came from.
Yeah.
Yes, there's tons of factors, but I know
Variables, yeah.
I've had gas that I've had in the proper the
Storing
red
things, yeah.
plastic containers, like the regulation containers. I've had it go bad in less than a year.
Yeah.
Especially sitting outside if you have weather cycle.
Oh
that
yeah,
affects it. I mean,
heat,
heat, yeah.
weather, like anything like that. All of that comes into a variable, and all these people have like we talk about preparedness, and we know this stuff because like this is
second nature to us.
Yeah, it's second nature. It's part of the mobility part of being prepared, but like these people are just panic buying the same way that they're panic buying toilet paper, and for just
and they
Just
break
because-
and they break
system.
the supply chain.
Just because somebody said, "Oh, there might be a shortage,"
There was no
you know,
shortage
so
until
everybody
the,
goes out and buys it, and then creates the shortage.
There was no shortage until the media said there was a
Yeah.
shortage. They artificially created that, and that's not the first time that's happened. That's with fuel, especially. That's happened several times. They have the power to enforce people because one person, because that one's fear. It's like, oh crap, I'm not gonna have
gotta get to work.
gasoline. Yeah, I gotta get to work. Da 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 da. And even I thought about that. I'm like, man, all these idiots are out going to get, buying all the gas stuff. I'm like.
and most of them aren't working.
Yeah, I was like, this is gonna inconvenience me. Or I thought about like our guys in the field, for my company. It's like, well, man, they have, it's like, where their diesel and stuff. Diesel's running out. I'm like, how are they gonna drive out to the job site and stuff? I mean, I thought about all that, and it's not so much like being underprepared. It's like all these other people are now encroaching on what my normal like daily business is. Like these people are dumb. They're annoying me.
Your insolence is annoying.
But that's it's oh man, people are something else.
And so basically the reason that we're talking about all of this is because, and why we say that this is a motivation episode is this is just one example of a group of people who were met with strife and how they reacted to it and how they went about changing it.
And there's a lot of things in history too that you can see people went through the same thing, especially like, I'm not going to get into it, but if people look at it from like a biblical standpoint, there's tons of that.
Tons of it.
And among other things, even up through like like the Jews during the Holocaust. I mean, there's tons of different examples of history where people, like you said, face strife and they have to overcome it. Otherwise, you either overcome it or you die. There's nothing else.
Or you're subjugated.
Which you die slowly.
Yes.
So what we're getting at is like a lot of people feel that that's kind of slowly happening to them because like. Especially with that January 6th commission and stuff like that, that's just a gateway into making
like
it so
Gestapo.
conservative. Yeah,
Like...
it's going to create effectively a Gestapo, and if you're a conservative, people are going to start coming after you. It happens with big tech. You just try to throw even like what I would consider as a normal idea out there, and you're ostracized over it. It's happening in front of us. If anybody who denies it is blind, and what you have to do in a situation like that where you have this massive machine going against you, because you individually are not going to do anything against that.
No.
As a large group, possibly.
Yeah.
Which
it would have to be really hefty.
It would have to be hefty, and it would have to be very coordinated to do something the right way against such a force like that.
It's a very technical situation.
Literally. So what you have to do is you just have to. The very basic thing is you have to have a hope. We go by that old adage, is the strong times make weak men. Actually, we'll start from the beginning. It's like, weak times make strong men. Strong men.
Hard times make strong men.
Yeah, hard times make strong men. Strong men make great times. Great times make weak men. And then weak men make hard times. We're on the very bottom edge of that, where all of these generations of weak people above us, like my parents are great, and you guys can probably say the same, but a lot of people in their generation are crap, especially like between theirs and like our generation, like that middle generation is this pretty.
Yeah, they're very full of themselves, very I think
I'm not saying as a whole.
As a whole, well, we're saying just generally. Like
yeah.
whenever you think of a Karen, like you get these personas like a Karen or something like that. These people that are entitled or feel entitled to a certain thing, or like, oh, how dare McDonald's not have a McFlurry?
Yeah,
like that. Like any that.
How dare their ice cream machine be broke, even though it always is?
I mean, regardless, that's just one example. That's just an example of people like that. And people that feel that they deserve all these things, then they deserve all of these luxuries that they have no idea. Like, they have no idea what real struggle or strife is. They
expect it to be a commodity that's easily accessible to them at all times.
Their struggle is the Starbucks line's too long.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the little things that may set you off. Like the Starbucks line, if that's something that really ruins your day,
maybe you should go.
Where are you at?
Yeah, maybe you should reassess your priorities.
Gain some perspective.
And we may be speaking to somebody listening here too. Sitting there, it's like these little things, should not bother you. Especially like if that stuff happens to you, what I personally recommend is to look into like Stoicism.
Oh yeah, I love
like anything Stoic is that's you know what that is, where it's like effectively to sum it up, it's like if you can't control it, then you shouldn't let it bother you as much. Simplifying it way down.
Yeah.
There's so much more to it. But like things that are outside of your control, you can't do anything about. And that's it. It helps you really
focus on the things that you can control, and don't let other like these external things that you have no control over upset you.
Yeah, be aware of that. Like, don't be oblivious. But you can't just sit there and get so worked up that somebody else did something. It's that you had no control over. Like, people get worked up about that stuff. It's like,
I definitely used to.
I same here.
I feel like
some things I get.
We're not we're not saying that we're perfect or anything, and that things don't get to us. Because I'm sure, because I know.
Yeah, everyone.
Of course you do. Yeah.
Because I know there are plenty of little things that get to me that I know shouldn't. But
it's about
I'm human.
Yeah,
it's about
taking those things. Yeah,
I do recognize.
You recognize them, and then you run like
it's a way of collecting your thoughts.
Yeah, you recognize it and you run it through that Stoic filter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good way to look at this, to try to to stay strong and have hope with stuff when it may seem like everything's burning around you. It's like, hey, I'm only one person. I can only do so much. Yada yada yada. It's a way to rationalize it, way to feel calm about things. and keep your head, because like the big thing is, do not cave to the masses. And they may
The whole
not,
world
the whole
is telling you that something wrong is something right.
Here we go.
You stand by the tree of the river of truth and say, no, you move. And that is a paraphrase quote of Captain America. That's my favorite quote because it embodies basically the whole idea, or at least my whole idea of America.
I really enjoyed that. I really wanted to.
It's great.
Say that was really good.
And
this
I really like
that's
that.
yeah,
it's a great quote.
This is pre-woke Captain America.
Yeah,
Wow.
this is like the 40s, or not 40s. This is still Marvel, but I think prior to Disney's ownership of it. Whoever wrote it, I don't know who wrote it, but they're a freaking genius.
Like
because
they had a real idea. of
Well,
what
see,
they
the
wanted
thing
from
boils down to, it's like, you have to realize that you are right. We here are on the right side of history. It doesn't matter what all these other stupid people that are out there, all these woke people that think that they're right, that think that, hey, I can just decide whatever my gender is right now on the spot, and that's it. That's retarded. That's stupid. We are on the right side of history, and you have to understand that, and you have to be firm in your convictions. That's what it boils down to. Like you said, no, you move. That's it. And you have to realize that, and you have to start wising up to that. And the sooner you do that, the stronger of a person you're going to be in the long run.
Basically, just don't let these ideologies that are pushed so hard in like the media and on social media and stuff like that, don't let those ideologies change your ideology just because everyone else is saying that I should feel this way, so maybe I should like start feeling this way.
Don't get bullied.
And that was the problem with most middle of the road people. They were afraid to express their opinions. Like, oh well, like I don't want to look like the bad guy now.
That's
so
where
then
we
everyone
get,
just shut up.
That's where we get the term closet Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Where these people are scared to vote for
Openly
someone.
vote, yeah.
But when it comes to like the no you move thing, like look at what our founding fathers did. They stood up to this giant bully that was Great Britain, and now here we are.
The largest military power in the world at the time.
That's why I said you have to be strong in your convictions.
Yes.
Know going forward before you start your journey that what you're doing is righteous. Like seriously, what you're doing is right. It's the way. And you have to understand that it's very, very important. Because if you don't believe that, if you do not believe in what you stand for, then it doesn't matter what you stand for.
And by believe, we mean like, if you care about this stuff, research. It's something that we've been pushing since the beginning. Like, research history. Look at the things that have happened before and be knowledgeable. Be able, like, don't just side with us just because of the things that we say, but go and look the stuff up. Go and build your own ideology and figure out where the lines in the sand are. Where don't you want to move from? Like,
Where's your no you move point?
Yeah, like, at what point do you stop getting pushed and say, hey, enough is enough?
Yeah.
Heck, you could be on the total opposite of the political spectrum from us and have this ideology and take it with you. I mean, if you're on the complete opposite political spectrum from we are, I don't even know why you're listening to us at this point.
Yeah,
still.
it's unfortunate
But
that
regardless,
it's unfortunate that you're wrong, but you can still you can still.
Everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah,
And there are things that we can go back and forth about.
of course,
There's tons of stuff, but there's
there's
also
healthy debate.
Yeah.
which we appreciate.
and the things that we are most talking about are the inalienable rights that are written, that are not given to us by the government, but given to us by a higher power. Whatever that higher power
Whatever
may be,
you believe in personally.
But
yeah.
that was the ideology that the founders used when writing the Constitution. These rights, the rights that were laid out in the Constitution and continue to be laid out in the Constitution, are not rights given to you by the government. The government has no say on these rights because these are inalienable rights given to you by a higher power.
Yeah, it could literally
By your right of being a human being.
Yeah, and if you don't believe in a higher power, then they
just exist.
inherently.
Yeah.
So all this comes down into it, and like personally, something that with our ideology, you have to stop being afraid of cancel culture. Like that's like such the big thing that's facing us these days. Everybody's like, oh man, it's like, oh, cancel this, cancel that. Even us, we still. We go by these pseudonyms and these aliases and stuff like that. Not so much of that, because of the cancel culture, because we still share this around. People know who we are and whatnot. Yeah. It's more so about, we don't need you caring about who we are. We care about the message.
Yeah.
But
Like anyone could be saying the same stuff that we're saying.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people agree with it. They're just afraid to say it because of the cancel culture. Because, like, cancel culture is pretty serious. It's like...
It's rampant
It's
now.
rampant. And it's like, oh, wow, I said this thing, 15 years ago. It's like, oh, you're fired from your job. It's like, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
what?
your life is ruined.
Yeah, your life's ruined. It's like...
Kids are taken away.
And then
The
the
ATF shows up.
just-
Shoots your dog.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, that was great. But
dog.
That was excellent.
oh man, that's,
Party on Wayne.
oh my
party
god,
on Garth.
I love how stuff is not rehearsed sometimes. But like that can only go so far before it just blows up. I mean, like, it's already blowing up. People are just getting so tired of this because it's like, okay, well, you're judging me when something I said 20 years ago. It's like, oh, my opinion definitely hasn't changed in 20 years, especially the last 20 years. If your opinion hasn't changed in the last 6 months on at least something, then you probably need to be a bit
haven't
more,
actually read anything.
you probably need to be a bit more open-minded on stuff. Because I know, like, especially the last 6 months, my opinion's changed on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of new issues that come up,
You should question things.
you start questioning your own, like, standings on things.
You should question your own standings on stuff, even if it's something you disagree in.
Yeah, and then
because
especially
you verify that you're in the right place.
Absolutely.
That means you have an open mind at that point.
As you should.
Oh no, I'm agreeing with that whole. But I'm just saying that really makes you an adult. Like, to me, like, that's just being a mature adult.
That differentiates you from those who are against us, because it's not so much like differing ideologies. These the people that are against us are out to destroy us. They are completely hell-bent on removing our ideology from existence. They think that what they stand for is absolutely the way to be, that you can just decide whatever you want, and that's the way it is. Like, oh, I think I should just, I know that I should make $300,000 a year for sitting here doing nothing. It's like, that's, and they are absolutely hell-bent with every fiber of their being. That's how it works. It's like, no, that's never how it works. It will never work that way.
if you went to school for a crap job or for a crap degree because it made you feel good, and I'm not saying don't get a degree that doesn't make you feel good, but I'm saying, like, apply some common sense and some perspective to the thing you're doing, and maybe take something that you enjoy, and then find, like, a applicable career that is going to, if you want to make $300,000, find a job that goes up to $300,000.
Boom, software engineering right now.
Anything, like, that's the thing. Like, I took what I enjoyed. At the time, whenever I was looking for jobs, I enjoyed video games. I was like, well, I'm not going to be a professional gamer, I'll tell you that much, and I'm not good enough, and I don't want to learn programming, so what's the next best thing? Oh, well, IT is computers, and the stuff that I learn in IT can help me do stuff on my computer, so that's what I want to learn, and that's what I did, and now
the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's all great advice, and people should do that. But again, and nowadays it's like, oh, well, I wanted to go for gender studies or whatever, and it's like, it's your fault that I don't have a job. It's like, no, it's your fault for being retarded and picking a degree that
Doesn't do
you knew would have no job prospects.
And it's not like you need to know what you like. If you're young, like, it's not like you need to know what you want to do right this second, right out of high school, or in your early 20s or whatever. You don't need
You may not know what you want to do until you're 40 years old.
Look at
it
me.
doesn't matter.
Look at me.
But I mean, if you want to make money is the thing, because everyone wants to make money.
Oh yeah, but people want to make a lot of money, and they want to do what makes them happy. But your mind changes in what you want to do so much that unless you go out and try it, you're never going to know unless you try it.
Well,
you don't know what's going to make you
may have
happy.
your mind absolutely set on doing X thing, and work towards it and do it, and then it's like, oh well, this sucks. And then what do? Do you just roll up on a ball and die? No, you go back to the drawing board and redo it again.
I've literally done this multiple times.
Yeah, that's how you should go through life. If you don't like what you do something different and figure it out. Life's a learning.
And if you want to make more money,
yeah, I've done construction.
Then go out and make more money.
Yeah, just go do it.
Go find something, like, if your job isn't paying you enough right now, or you don't like the current position that you're in right now, then go find another position.
Or work harder to and earn a higher position.
Yeah.
If that's
Like,
available, yeah.
Yeah, whatever gets you to that point. But like, you also have to and I think a lot of kids nowadays, especially with like the TikTok stuff and like just this instant
Gotta
gratification,
be TikTok famous.
they just want
Sponsors.
they want money and they want to live this lifestyle of lavish, but they don't actually realize how
They have no idea
How
what a
few and
dollar
far
is.
between
that
those
these people are
happen.
these people like that are on YouTube, that are on like these social media platforms, that are entertainers, they got lucky.
Yeah,
They
it's
I
very
mean,
much all about luck.
it's not just all about luck, because
It's
here we
luck,
are
or they
Yeah, I was
trying.
just gonna say, look at us.
Here we are trying to get lucky, but not for the monetary stuff, but to get our message out. The biggest thing is just like that's just not reality. Most of the time, it's not reality. So you
It's
have
either
to.
These people either got lucky or they were famous prior and they had something else going for them, and then they were able to create that platform.
Observe as I draw my trust fund card. Yeah, but seriously, that.
My dad has a Lamborghini, so I'm gonna make TikToks with it
Hi, what do you do?
because
for a
he
living?
worked for a living.
Hi, hi, I love your car. What do you do for a living?
Living in the
guy?
shadow
That guy.
of
That's
your
awesome.
parents is
Yeah.
not the way to do it.
So, going back to our thing, basically wrapping it up, stop being afraid of cancel culture. If somebody doesn't like it like that, whatever.
Tell them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, seriously.
Don't be. You don't have to be like mean about it.
No, you don't have to
you
be
don't
mean
have to
about
be
it.
belligerent,
Like,
but just
the way to do it is to sit there and just smile and know that you are right.
stick to your guns.
Stick to your guns, exactly. So, again, what else can you do to be that better person, and again have those strong convictions to know that you are on top?
Gain perspective.
Gain perspective. The what I would say the easiest thing is live up to a higher standard. We see all these people that we're talking about that are against us, and I will go out and say that they are our enemy. Ideologically, they are our enemy because
Because they want to wipe
they
us off
want
the map.
to destroy us.
They don't
And
want
I'm fine with having people that have different opinions than me. That
that's
happens
that's
all the
natural.
time.
That's life.
And it's
Now,
supposed to be that
It's
way.
supposed to be that way. But now, if having somebody that has a different opinion to me that is hell bent on destroying my ideology and like borderline sending people like us to camps because we think differently is sick.
Yeah.
There's no common ground there.
We've
They-
seen this before.
History
yeah, and I'm not saying that-
trying to repeat itself.
And I'm not saying like do anything to those people. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that they are our ideological enemy.
You arm yourself with knowledge.
Knowledge
And guns.
is power.
But
Guns for later, but knowledge for now.
But the thing that you can do is just live up to a higher standard than those people. You sit there and see the stuff that they do, just like they're always like those type of people are usually always dressed like weird and like
Maybe
like,
they follow the trendy fashion stuff, and they're not into like actual work or like doing things, but they're just into looking good.
Hipsters.
yeah.
And doing. I mean, all of us do love and enjoy doing the things that we enjoy of doing, but we also have a base of understanding that in order for me to do the things that I like last week we talked about cars are expensive. So how do I want certain cars in my life.
How do you fuel that?
How do I get there?
Welfare.
Oh, God.
I have to
Welfare
welfare
checks.
will not get me the current car that I have.
Yeah, which it's just the way it works. So live up to a higher standard. Be the better person. You know like in your mind you can think of at least with this type of stuff what the right kind of person
Have a
is.
moral high ground.
That's what I was going to get to next is like, well, once you have that higher standard, you can embody that, and then you have to create that good moral character, that moral high ground. You have to have that. You have to know what's right
Because that's what
and what's
completes
wrong.
that circle. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't have the moral high ground, then you're left with nothing but a shell.
And then once you have that, you have to understand what you're fighting for and why you're fighting for it. And in this case, it's just that you want to prevail. You want your idea to prevail.
We
what is
basically
ultimately
just want to
good.
have a seat at the table. We want to not have to be basically continued to be attacked by the other side for thinking this certain way and being canceled and not allowed to speak on certain media platforms or stuff like that.
You don't have the talking stick.
Yeah, you're not allowed to speak anymore. Like, that's basically what they're doing, and that's right now the current form of that strife is coming from.
Oh,
For us.
it comes down to the whole thing. It's like, oh, I cannot come up with an argument against this, so
we're just gonna
I'm just gonna shut you off. I blocked him. They're blocking us in real life.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
But you gain perspective.
Oh,
you gain this higher standard of living by gaining perspective. And my favorite way of gaining perspective is reading books.
So we have some book suggestions.
I love to read.
The first one that I have just started to read is from Jordan Peterson. It's the iconic 12 Rules for Life, and then there's also what's it, Beyond Order?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the 12 more rules.
I think there's 12 more rules.
That's
I haven't read that yet. I have read 12 Rules for Life.
And it's simple stuff.
It is super simple
but
stuff. And they even say it's simple stuff. I'm pretty sure he says it like multiple times in the book.
Because it is, but it's simple enough that you sit there and you're like, oh, well, this is really simple, and it inspires you to do it because it's simple.
Repair your relationship with your father.
Fight the snakes. but if you haven't seen Freedom Tunes, Jordan Peterson, I really recommend it.
It's so good.
It's beautiful. But being serious, it's like I recommend that book from what I've read into it so far, and just after I part of the reason why I got the book was I wanted to read it. And the other part of it is I really wanted to support Jordan Peterson because I feel really bad for him. What the left has put him through. It's sickening because the guy's just normal guy, and they just vilify him.
He is now the new Hydra Red Skull.
He's Red Skull. It's like wait, hold on. There's some stuff here that's
this
not
guy's
right.
telling you to clean your room and to repair your relationship with your father is now somehow this.
Hail
Hydra, Hail Lobster.
Hail Lobster. But other than Jordan Peterson,
there's a bunch of. I mean, this is all just going off of personal,
off the cuff. Yeah,
what we have read. I've read all of Jocko's books now, except I'm like halfway through his field manual. Whatever the field manual is, but I've read
Leadership, Strategy, and Tactics.
Yeah, I've read Leadership, Strategy, and Tactics. That's the field manual.
Yeah.
And then I've read Extreme Ownership, Dichotomy of Leadership. Yeah. So, and those are all great, like, leadership books. They tie into Jocko's experience as a Navy SEAL. If you don't know who Jocko Willink is, he's a Navy SEAL that does leadership consulting. He's got a podcast that's great. It's one of the few podcasts one of the few podcasts that I listen to, and just gaining the perspective of these people and learning what worked for them to be a leader and to just be a better person.
Adversity.
Yeah, overcome adversity, these hard times. Same thing with Dan Crenshaw, which is the Texas representative, or Texas representative, the guy with the eye patch.
So he's the eye patch guy, yeah.
And he wrote a book called Fortitude. That's also it's a great book on basically it's specifically about fighting cancel culture and having fortitude in this, like, basically this whole thing that we talked about.
This entire episode wrapped in one. It really is.
It's a great book.
I just got done reading that book maybe, I don't know, what you figure, a month and a half ago or so, something like that. One of the greatest books I've ever read in my life.
Well, I'd say that's a pretty good recommendation. Straight from Blackbeard.
I love the book. It was great. The hardship that he went through and the way his will to just keep going, second to none. By far amazing.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks because I don't really. Not necessarily I don't have time to read. It's just easier for me.
Yeah, like when you're just driving to work, it's easy to just throw on an audio.
So, and Dan read. I listened
to his just because he read it.
Same thing as Jocko's. he reads his book.
Jocko's audiobooks are so good.
Even if you listen to his podcast, he reads other people's books.
Yeah, I want all books read in Jocko's voice.
I want him.
Are we gonna do Valiant voiceovers?
I want him to moderate my
voiceovers.
Like,
narrate.
I'm sorry, Morgan Freeman, but Jocko's got you beat right now.
Jocko's got a good. He was an English major, so he can read. But I mean, there's tons of other books I've read. 1776 or 1775. It's a book about that year in the war, the American Revolution, and it goes into detail of different stuff, and it's good stuff.
We could what about 1984?
Oh yeah, 1984, of course. That's a go-to if you want to like read and draw parallels to what's going on today. That's a dystopian, communist, socialist book.
I have determined during the course of this reading out book suggestions that I believe, and this is the first time I'm going to announce this, I think on our website we should have a section dedicated to research. It have book recommendations there, different links to places.
Yeah, I'm
people could
100%
look.
down for
We should embed that
reading
link
list.
right in there, reading list built right into our website that you could look and be like, oh, here it is, and then go through and read it.
Give you the source.
Give you the
Where
source.
We pull all
Here's
our
where it is.
ideology, where we
See,
pull everything we talk about.
And I think we're gonna start doing this too. That like I did a little bit on here. I think we should start doing sources for all of our episodes. Any of the research we did, and just straight up embed that right in the website.
I mean,
Just have it
Yeah, we
all
could do that.
have it all there so people can see what we're doing.
Seeing
well,
where
from the
we're
draw
pulling
their
our
own conclusions.
Yeah, see where we're pulling our
and do their
information
own
from.
research.
Do their own research.
Do your own research off of what we're reading, and it justifies what we're putting out there. You know, it separates that just from people like throwing
Oh, we're
random
just-
stuff out there that's random to you know, here's like some historical stuff behind what it is, or here's the facts behind it. Of course, you know, a lot of it is opinion still, but I think that's a good thing to do.
Pretty concrete stuff.
And where us, whatever year old youngins are getting our big brain ideas from.
Giant brain. But I think that's probably a good place to stop, and we could go on and on about this. So again, it boils down to just to wrap it all up. It's get motivated
And stay motivated.
and stay motivated. If you like this episode, please drop a like. Share it with your friends, your family, your family's friends.
Anyone that will listen.
Anyone that will listen.
Your dog.
Especially this episode. I feel this episode was really important. The message was extremely important, and I think there are people out there that need this type of thing, just as a little kick to be like, hey, you're doing good. You need to know that you're doing good here, you know, and just a little bit of motivation, I think, is all it takes for some people. So if you know somebody like that, send them this. Have them get a hold of us if they need any advice for stuff, or you know, need some inspiration or anything.
Need
Check
a
out
swift
our
kick.
Swift kick, yeah,
check
seriously.
out our Instagram.
Yeah,
With all our
Communicate with
pictures,
us.
you can see. Send us pictures of stuff that you're doing in your journey of
Stuff that
being
motivates you.
if you
Yeah.
have a cool picture that motivates you, we'll throw it up on the site. Why
Yeah.
not? And again,
any kind of community. Honestly, like if people want to start doing more community interaction, I'm down for like
100%.
any of the
100% down
community
for that.
interaction stuff that you guys, you listeners are wanting to do.
yeah, I'm thinking too potentially of maybe having a way of doing interactions directly on our site rather than, you know, if people don't want to go through Guilded and make an
Guilded,
account,
yeah.
do all that stuff. So we're going to look into options for that. There'll be multiple ways to reach out. Again, website's under construction. We will be bringing you regular updates on that, or you can check for yourself at WeValiantFew.com. But I think that's all I have for tonight. How about you guys?
I think we're good to go.
Sender.
Stay vigilant, guys.
And we're out.
Yeet.